whoever is bidding on your search terms, whether it's an established seller or a new seller bidding on it, you'll have to fight them both. You'll have to find a way to bid higher and be more relevant to that search query.
This is the E-commerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am your host, Kiri Masters, founder of Bobsled Marketing, and I'm joined by your co-host, Julie Spear, Operations Manager at Bobsled Marketing. So on episode 4 of the E-commerce Braintrust podcast, we had Stefan Georgiev, who is a PPC specialist at Bobsled, on with us on the show to talk about how much to spend on PPC on Amazon. And it was really enlightening. There's a few different sort of rules of thumb that Stefan talked about in terms of optimizing the actual amount that you spend on Amazon and making sure that you know how to appropriately measure the success of your advertising programs on a profitability basis. So today we're taking a little bit of a back step and talking about a more general guide to sponsored products, which is Amazon's flagship PPC ad type. So before we jump into that, Julie, I'm curious to get your thoughts about how maybe our approach to PPC on Amazon has changed with our clients, or where it kind of usually sits in our timeline of launching products and brands on Amazon for our clients.
Yeah, I think over the past year, things have changed in general for when you're looking at launch, especially as Amazon changed the guidelines of incentivized reviews. When they took away that option for sellers when they're launching brand new products, the PPC became even more important. It's always been an important aspect of selling on Amazon, but I think over time, it's become even more integral in our strategies for launching new products as well as optimizing existing established sellers on Amazon. So with existing sellers that are a bit more established on Amazon, when we look at PPC for them, we're looking more at making sure that their campaigns are efficient and optimized, that there's not wasted spend or lost opportunities. So where for the new sellers, it's integral to the launch and it helps bring their products to the customers in their searches, that still is true with existing sellers, but we just want to make sure that we're bringing them to the right customers and that the ads are showing with high relevance and that they're not wasting spend and they're really leveraging it as efficiently as possible.
Right. Yeah, well, this is our opportunity to really dive into the sponsored products ad type. And so we have Stefan back on the show with us to talk about, in your perspective, Stefan, what are we looking at in terms of the sponsored product ad type going forward into 2018? Maybe a little bit about what you have, like Julie, experienced some changes in the platform over the past year or so. So yeah, let's dive into your take on sponsored products.
Thanks for having me again on the show. Yeah, I do believe 2017 introduced some pretty significant changes to Amazon's sponsored products, which will definitely need to be taken into consideration when 2018 comes in. The very first assumption I want to talk about is something that I suspect will be equally true for every year which approaches us, which is with each passing year, there are more and more ambitious sellers joining Amazon. In addition to that, with the headline search ads, which have only been available for vendors so far, being available on Seller Central, equals even more competition. So unfortunately, I think we can certainly say we're looking at a slight increase in cost per click rates for 2018.
Quick question, is that sort of, if folks who are less experienced with running PPC campaigns are jumping in and using different ad types like headline search ads, which were just introduced in Seller Central, does that generally result in increased bids and CPCs for ads because we have people just kind of jumping in and spending without necessarily tracking what they're doing? Is that how you see this playing out?
Well, honestly, yes, it does. If somebody comes in without having all the calculations in mind, or even considering whether their campaigns are profitable or not, and bidding higher than you, it will affect your click-through rates, and it will affect you with a lower amount of clicks overall. So basically, whoever is bidding on your search terms, whether it's an established seller or a new seller bidding on it, you'll have to fight them both. You'll have to find a way to bid higher and be more relevant to that search query.
So we're doing everyone a service by actually educating people on how to use sponsored products so that they spend less money.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The more educated you are, in the long run, you'll end up spending less and getting more sales from it.
We actually had a comment from one of our members of our Facebook group about PPC. The question was from Heino Wessels, and he asked, how do you find out the best keywords to get the best click versus impression rate?
It's a very good question, and one I keep asking myself whenever I work on accounts. Basically, what I want to start with is he's referring to click-through rates, the percentage of people who clicked the ad when they saw it, and this is almost always connected to your relevancy to that customer search query. So you might turn to some advertising tools to see which keywords have higher volume, but you will not necessarily know which keywords will give you the better click-through rates. I think the only thing to do here prior to having them run and measuring the click-through rates and then weeding out the keywords which have lower click-through rates is running an reverse ASIN research for your own products and then seeing which customer search terms you're ranking for on the first page. These will always replicate the customer search terms you're relevant for, and bidding on these keywords will almost ensure you have a higher click-through rate than maybe broader keywords you might be bidding in. So the twofold approach would include figure out which keywords you're organically ranking for. These would be the relevant keywords which will most certainly have higher click-through rates than other keywords for you. And then analyze the search term report week to week while your campaigns are running and figure out which keywords have the highest click-through rates for you and focus on those more.
Okay. And so in terms of getting to some predictions about what's going to happen in 2018 and what your best practices are for your clients, Stefan, in terms of getting them ready for a new dawn on Amazon, as it always is, week to week, there's always something changing. What are your predictions about what's going to happen with the sponsored product ad platform, and what kind of strategies are we working with right now?
Before I dive into the changes that will follow, I really want to start with the very basics, a tactic that has been imperative for PPC success, which is the keyword research. I believe keyword research was important for PPC in 2008, and it will be as important for PPC in 2018. So looking at high volume keywords, stealing keywords from your competitor listings, generating high quality keywords backend strings for your products will be as crucial for your success in 2018 as much as it was in 2017 or the years prior to that. One most important takeaway would be do not skip this step. A lot of people will think they have their listings optimized, and in some cases they really would. But at the very least, I would suggest working on your keyword research in parallel to running your auto campaigns. These are the very first campaign type you launch on Amazon. So as soon as you have them launched, start working on your keyword research. Note the keywords which are important to you. It will really make the difference once you start working with manual campaigns.
And once you start moving into manual campaigns, Stefan, what's your take on what should happen with the auto campaigns?
Basically, I am always supporting the theory of you should let your data tell you what to do. But in pretty much all the cases, if the auto campaign is profitable for you, I suggest you leave it running. The way to ensure your manual campaigns are getting more attention than the auto campaign would be to bid on those keywords more than the initial bid set for the auto campaign. But definitely keep it running. Week by week, that campaign will provide you with additional customer search terms you can use as keywords. So you can be focusing on conversions more with your manual campaigns, but use the auto campaigns to generate high quality customer search terms week by week, and then just get those transferred to the manual campaign.
Yeah, and that's where the search term report and the sponsored product ads dashboard is so helpful.
Yeah.
It really gives you so much insight into how the terms are working. And also, when we talked initially about how we can use PPC to help new sellers, I think the search term report can give us valuable information about terms that we should be really highlighting in the copy on product pages as well.
Absolutely. I think taking a look at my downloads folder and seeing how many Excel files I have in there would really prove this point. I mean, working with...
Is that your favorite report?
Yeah, it definitely is. You have to spend a lot of time within the search term report if you're aiming for advertising success. So I think this might fall within the rule which would remain the same as within 2017. Look at the search term reports at least once a week. See what converts and what doesn't, what needs to be added as a keyword in your manual campaigns, and what needs to be negative exact. The only thing I would point out here would be the connection between the campaign structure and the search term report. I think it's been a while since the search term report has not been showing the ASINs, which get the sales and the clicks, but the campaigns and the ad groups which they contain. So this leads me to a best practice I want to suggest for 2018, even for now, as soon as you launch your campaigns. Including a single SKU per ad group will make working with the search term report much easier and faster for you. So it doesn't show the ASINs, but once you navigate to an ad group level and see how much you've spent, how much you've sold with that ad group, you can easily make the connection between the ad group and the ASIN included there. So starting 2018 with a campaign structure which follows you including one ASIN per ad group will definitely save you time throughout the year looking at the search term and analyzing the impact advertising has had.
Nice. I like that hack.
Yeah. A little bit more about campaign structure. The additional thing we've been trying to focus on here to help us evaluate even faster would be, while you have a single SKU per ad group, also create a different ad group for every keyword match type you have available, which would be the broad, phrase, and exact. So if I'm to navigate within a campaign which is promoting a single SKU, I would have 3 groups, each of them including the same SKU and only that one. And each of these groups would have broad, phrase, and exact match types within them. I think this is a way to ensure, as soon as you navigate to the ad group level, which is the match type that works better for your account. Rule of thumb says it will be the exact match types if you've identified the keywords which really work well for you, but that's not always the case. And finding ways to evaluate faster is always a good idea.
Great. Any other tips for what's currently working now?
I believe the campaigns which have been running for a while now, the sponsored product ads, have not had any significant changes into their manual parts. But I did notice an update for the auto campaigns, which was then removed. It was only available for a few days, but I think it's definitely a sign it is coming in 2018, which was the availability. It was sort of a checkbox where you can check to ensure your campaigns are getting displayed outside of Amazon to its partner network, which would be the websites working with the affiliate websites of Amazon. I do see this returning in 2018. We have not really had the time to test it out. I know better than to make predictions without seeing the data first, but it would be a change where you will definitely have to have a campaign displaying only on Amazon and then have an additional campaign with the same settings displaying on the partner network as well, and see which one is bringing in more sales and a better return of investment.
So is this separate to AMG, Stefan?
It's yeah.
Which is their
So you saw this available in Seller Central sponsor products?
Yes, I did see it available. I think it was last week, and then it got removed.
Wow.
I've been reading online about feedback from it. The support from Amazon doesn't have any feedback on it since it has been removed, but I do see this returning in 2018, and we'll definitely have to find ways to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's particularly because we have the brands who, especially brands who are looking to launch on Amazon, who haven't really had an active presence in the past, and they're looking to kickstart things, to a point that Stefan made earlier about increased competition and just more advertisers being on the Amazon ecosystem. We're seeing a huge increase in just the number of sellers on the Amazon marketplace. So it's getting a lot more competitive, and brands who are not yet active on Amazon are finding it harder and harder to actually build momentum in the first place, because they're dealing with incumbent brands who have lots of reviews. To Stefan's point, they have mature ad campaigns that typically have better performance than when you're first starting out. And so it's really hard to get an initial foothold on Amazon now than ever before. So this new ad type, or I'm not sure if you call it an ad type, but just a method of reaching customers outside of Amazon, is going to give a lot more opportunity to both new brands and established ones, if they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it is harder for new sellers to sell on Amazon, but then at the same time, it seems like Amazon is giving them the tools to promote themselves. The new sellers have the headline search ads available, they have the storefront functionality available, which they can include on Facebook, on their email blasts. So they are fighting existing sellers, which can have up to thousands of reviews for the product they're selling. But then at the same time, they're having a richer palette of advertising options available, I would say. So I hope they can get the most use of them. 2017 has seen several functionalities being introduced to Seller Central or moved to Seller Central for AMS. I'm not sure if this is a part of some broader strategy Amazon has, but seeing the headline search ads become available for third-party sellers, which were prior to a month ago only available to AMS sellers only, the vendors on Amazon, and then seeing the storefront functionality available on Seller Central, it's also a plus for sellers. Connecting the storefront functionality to a prediction we have for 2018, or maybe even late 2017, is so far you're not able to add it within the headline search ads within Seller Central, but this is definitely something that will become available on Amazon Seller Central in the future. So investing some time into creating that pretty looking storefront would be a good idea to work on in the next few months, because I'm sure in the months to come you'll be able to utilize on that by including it in a headline search ad campaign in Seller Central.
The storefront, they're only available to registered brands on Amazon. So that's something to keep in mind as well. It's a benefit to brands, along with things like enhanced brand content. But the storefronts are definitely something, like you said, they're important to leverage as we move toward the end of 2017 and into 2018.
Yeah. And just part of the broader trend, this is something that Julie and I spoke about on our earlier episode about the vendor versus seller model of selling on Amazon, and some predictions that we kind of have had around Amazon focusing more on the marketplace model rather than vendors, because the hypothesis is that the margins are generally better. They don't have to provide a buyer as support for each vendor. So it does make sense, to your point, Stefan, that they're actually starting to roll out features and benefits from the AMS program on Vendor Central over to sellers to just further entice brands to sell on the Seller Central platform rather than on Vendor. So any last predictions about 2018 or best practices from you, Stefan?
Well, I think we touched on this a little bit in episode 4. I'm sure 2018 will be really exciting. Some innovations are definitely coming. So far, we've been talking about features getting transferred from AMS to Seller Central. But I think if we're looking at 2018 in general for Amazon, we should be looking at what other advertising giant platforms are doing, like Facebook and AdWords. I'm sure some functionalities from those will become available. Maybe geo-targeting, maybe having the availability to run your ads on a specific part of the day. Basically, every evolution of every advertising platform must result in providing the advertisers with more freedom about when and where their advertisement will be displayed. So any changes to come will definitely be in that direction, providing us with more control over the display of the ads and the audience is being displayed at. Personally, without getting too ahead of myself, I would be very happy when I see the look back window available in AMS. So let's start with that and then see what comes from it.
Yeah, that point about the sophistication of the platform is really huge because we do see it's not broken out and labeled as such on Amazon in Amazon's annual reports, but they're making more money than ever before with advertising. And we're seeing more of a trend in the industry as a whole of brands recognizing that over half of product searches originate on Amazon now. They can't afford to not be on Amazon. They can't afford to not be committing ad dollars on Amazon. So we're seeing a lot of ad budgets for big brands and small brands alike shift away from Facebook and AdWords or Google Shopping and onto Amazon. And so those big advertisers, those sophisticated advertisers, they're going to, if Amazon can roll out these features and make the advertising platform more sophisticated and, to your point, allow them to advertise at different points of the day and be able to have better look back periods and just generally increase functionality and placements overall, Amazon's going to continue to steal dollars away from other advertising platforms. So it's definitely, it can only move in one direction in terms of the sophistication of the platform.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to consider where it's all going.
Yeah.
At least for us, for looking at Amazon.
So, Stefan, you're pleased that you made the jump from AdWords into Amazon at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
As a PPC.
Absolutely. I think, Amazon is the place to be now, and it will only, like you said, it can only go into one direction.
Cool. Well, Julie, any parting shots from you as well? You've been involved in this area for a couple of years now, also like just seeing the evolution. Do you have any predictions about what's going to come through the pipe next year?
I don't have specific predictions, just that it's going to keep evolving and growing in terms of options and available to brands and sellers in terms of how they can target their ads. The one parting thing I would say is, like Stefan, my favorite report is the search term report. And that is your friend. Use the search term report to learn about customer search habits that are bringing them to your products and really leverage that when looking at your product pages as well.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Well, that's going to do it for today. And to find the show notes for this episode and some extra resources that Stefan has mentioned here, you can go to bobsledmarketing.com/podcast. And Stefan, you're also working on a sponsored products guide for 2018, like a white paper. So that will be available either when the episode airs or shortly after if you sign up for our mailing list. Thanks for joining me and catch you next week.
Thanks, Kiri. Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you.